Joining us for those quick updates. In fact, stay with us because more updates are on the anvil, I'm sure. But before I come back to you, I want to quickly introduce our guests. We have with us Dr. N.K. Arora, Chairman of COVID-19 Working Group of NTAGI and Executive Director of INCLEN. With us also is Bhavya Lal. She's an ex-Associate Administrator of NASA for Technology, Policy and Strategy, NASA. With us also is, of course, Dr. Anand Ragnathan, author, joining us from our studios. Good morning to all of you. And let me begin with you, Dr. N.K. Arora. Dr. Arora, at a time when the G20 is here, when the world's attention is on India, it's also important to reflect on some of India's achievements and how it has played its role amongst the Committee of Nations. And amongst that, the area that you deal with, Vaccine Maitri, and how India has helped dozens of countries as opposed to several of the powerful Western nations which were accused of hoarding vaccines for their own purposes and perhaps even much beyond their own domestic requirements. India at that moment of crisis played a very, very important role. Would you like to detail for our viewers the very significant role of Vaccine Maitri in that regard, not just in terms of India, but of course in terms of the global context? Dr. Arora.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting. I think on today, one feels even more proud when we talk about Vaccine Maitri, when the whole world has gathered onto Delhi. In fact, there is a four-pronged strategy the country adopted. One was vaccine manufacturing, and this clearly was because our need is huge, 140 crores. The second is how to deliver this vaccine, and the third is development of new vaccines, because that was also so important. And the fourth one is how we go from now to the in future. And let us talk about the vaccine development and manufacturing. That right in January 2020, it was very clear that a vaccine will be the only answer to fight with the pandemic. And at that time, at the highest level, decision was taken that India should not be only a manufacturing hub, but a kind of a center of R&D for new vaccines. And that was the reason that while we had one vaccine which was initially developed in Oxford, but manufactured in huge quantities, and now we know that even refinement of manufacturing technique was done by the Indian company. But simultaneously, within 11 months, India developed our own indigenous vaccine, Covaxin. And therefore, within 5 weeks of when the global community started getting the vaccine, we as a country started getting vaccine from 16 January. So vaccine manufacturing and R&D was taken up together. And simultaneously, I must also say here that we started supporting research. And today, India is probably the only country which has 6 vaccine manufacturing plants. We are able to, we have mRNA vaccine, we have DNA vaccine, we have nasal vaccine, we have protein subunit vaccines, we have the inactivated vaccine. So the whole range and bouquet of vaccine have been developed de novo here. And in fact, now it takes us even further beyond the manufacturing. The second part is that simultaneously, India also realized that distribution of vaccine and manage the delivery portion of the vaccine was equally important. And that is where came the COVID platform. And today, the whole world appreciates how our COVID vaccine platform is functional. It can be used anywhere in the remotest area. And I must also share with you that now this COVID vaccine has been shifted and is being used for routine immunization. So our whole immunization scenario is going to change. Third thing is that we also...
Absolutely. Vaccine and globally as well. I'm told that other countries are also interested in COVID. Dr. Arora, I'm just going to introduce some of our other guests because of paucity of time. I'm sorry for interrupting you there. But I want to introduce Upasana Taku, co-founder of MobiKwik. Upasana Taku, one of the big success stories of India has been in the world of digital payments. And we've shown the world that, you know, it doesn't need anything but resolve. It needs a good, stable platform like the UPI. What really has made such a huge difference? Of course, the government has pushed it. But what are the other factors in your view that have allowed for India to become the one country in the world where over 40% of global digital payments actually happen? We have over 8 countries interested in either integrating or wholly adopting UPI as well. What really has changed over the past several years, in your view?
Right. Right. Thanks for having me here. I think that last 10 to 15 years have actually been the years of the fintech or digital revolution in India. And I think that while the government's view on digital India and empowering, companies such as us has been great, I think 2-3 other factors are important. First is the demographic dividend of India itself, right? We have a lot of young people, and 10-15 years ago we did not actually have digital access to payments everywhere. Cash used to rule in the country. So that has been one factor. The second factor is the proliferation of smartphone and the fact that mobile data costs have been going down continuously. And I think it is because of these reasons. I can tell you, when I started my company MobiKwik 14 years ago, India had about 20 to 25 million internet users. And today, I can proudly, like you said, almost 350 to 400 million Indians are using digital payments actively. So I think it's a plethora of factors coming together. I think the world knows that India is leading in terms of technology, but I think in terms of fintech or financial technologies, we have come a really long way. And it's not just the cities in India. I can tell you today, in rural India, in villages and towns, people are using mobile apps for their daily life payments. And I think this is something that we will see expand very rapidly. Already, with only 35 to 40% of the country using UPI, already last month we have become the country with the largest number of digital transactions. So you can only imagine that when 800 million people or even a billion Indians start transacting digitally, where will we be as a country in the quantum of digital payments. However, what I would like to, in addition to that, say is that the digital public infrastructure that we have made, in addition to UPI, is also really paving the way for financial inclusion. Right. Because payments is only the beginning. And right. I can tell you that digital credit...
Absolutely. There's a lot more that has to be done, undoubtedly. A lot that, in fact, is still a work in progress. But certainly a big and important start has been made. And that's what's very important. Dr. Entangain and Bhavya Lal, I'm going to come back to both of you in just a few minutes. We have to take a very quick break. Requesting Upasana Taku and Dr. Arora to continue being with us. We're going to slip into a quick break. But we'll be back with more news, more updates and this discussion in just a few moments. Stay tuned.